room 713-inch. Boston. It started with a whisper. Kayla was sitting alone in her dorm room at Harrington Hall on the campus of Whitmore University in Boston, Massachusetts. It was past midnight. Her roommate had gone home for the weekend. The campus was quiet in the specific way that large old buildings get quiet at night. Not peaceful quiet, but held breath quiet, the kind where every small sound seems deliberate. She was reading when she heard it, right beside her ear, so close she could feel the warmth of breath that should not have been there. Kayla. She turned. The room was empty. The door was closed. The window was latched against the October cold. She sat very still. Then she went back to her book. Kayla. Her name again. Same place. Same warmth of impossible breath. Kayla stood up slowly and turned to face the closet. And what she saw standing in front of it, a shadow in the shape of a person, eyes completely white, absolutely still, made her legs stop working. The shadow smiled. Then it passed directly through her body, cold as ice water from the inside, and went straight through the window and was gone. Kayla hit the floor. Skull. Her best friend Sierra found her there 20 minutes later. Sierra had come by to return a textbook and found Kayla's door unlocked and Kayla unconscious on the floor. Kayla, wake up. What happened? Why are you on the floor? Kayla came around slowly. When she saw Sierra's face above hers, she grabbed her arm. Someone was in here, Kayla said. Or something. In here with me. Face screaming in fear. There's nobody here. Sierra helped her sit up. Kayla, you look terrible. How long have you been like this? I don't know. Sierra looked at her carefully. Kayla had looked wrong for 2 weeks. Pale, exhausted, flinching at sounds that weren't there, sleeping too much, and still waking up more tired than she had gone to sleep. 3 different campus doctors had looked at her and found nothing. No fever, no infection, no explanat. You need to go home, Sierra said. Seriously, your parents. 3 months to finals, Kayla said. Professor Marsh won't let me take a leave, face with steam from nose. Professor Marsh cares more about institutional metrics than actual students. Sierra made a decision. I'm moving in with you, at least until we figure out what's going on. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Sierra was already texting the RA. I'm going to, smiling face with smiling eyes. Sierra moved into room 713 that night. The first 3 days were fine. Normal. Sierra had a way of filling space with her energy that made the room feel like a different place. She put her speakers on the desk and played music while they studied and left her running shoes by the door and generally made the room feel occupied in a living way it hadn't felt before. Then on the 4th day, they came back from class together and Kayla went straight to the bed without changing clothes and pulled the blanket over herself. You okay? Sierra asked. Cold, Kayla said. I'm so cold. Like there's ice in the walls. Sierra put her hand on Kayla's forehead. Normal temperature. Room temperature also normal. She got extra blankets from the closet and piled them on. She went to the campus pharmacy for cold medicine. She was gone 11 minutes. When she came back, Kayla was not in the room. Fearful face. The bathroom door was closed. Water running inside. Sierra knocked. No answer. She knocked harder. Still nothing. She ran to the end of the hall for the security guard. He came back with her and broke the door. Kayla was at the sink, her face submerged in water that had gone deep red. She was not conscious. She was not breathing right. Sierra pulled her back. The guard called 911. At the hospital, the ER doctor found water in Kayla's lungs and blood from burst vessels in her nose and mouth. No fingerprints on her. No sign of anyone else in the bathroom. No explanation for how she had gotten from the bed to the sink or why she had put her face in the water. Has she been under?
Unusual stress? The doctor asked. Sometimes when someone is struggling internally. This wasn't that, Sierra said. She said it with such certainty that the doctor wrote it down. Face with steam from nose. Sierra sat with Kayla until visiting hours ended. Before she left, she took off the rosary bracelet her grandmother had given her, wooden beads, silver cross, worn smooth from years of handling, and put it on Kayla's wrist. Don't take this off. she said. Whatever happens, don't take this off. Why? Kayla's voice was hoarse. Because I need you to trust me for a little while longer. Sierra squeezed her hand. I think I know what's happening. I'm not sure yet. But I think I know. And I need you to wear that bracelet while I figure out the rest. Broken heart. Sierra went back to Harrington Hall alone. She couldn't sleep. She put music on quietly and lay in the dark and thought about everything she had noticed in the 2 weeks she had been Kayla's roommate. The cold that had no source. The shadows she had seen in the closet mirror her second night there. She hadn't told Kayla, hadn't wanted to scare her more. The way Kayla's phone sometimes turned on in the middle of the night and stayed on, screen lit, showing nothing. And the room itself. Room 713. Sierra had asked around. It turned out that room 713 had been locked for 3 months the previous year. A student had died in it. A girl named Victoria Harmon. The official story was that Victoria had died by suicide. No note. No known reason. The campus counseling office had released a statement about mental health resources, and that was the end of the official conversation. The water running sound woke her at 2 in the morning. Not from the bathroom, from everywhere, like the walls were wet, like the floor was a surface that water was trying to get through. Sierra sat up. The room was dry. Normal. She checked. Then the sound of her own name from somewhere very close. Sierra. Not from the bathroom. Not from the closet. From the air beside.
Chest. Scene 6. The liberation of Sister Agnes. The sound that followed didn't belong to this world. Sister Agnes released Arian, who collapsed to the floor gasping. She staggered, convulsing, as thick black liquid poured from the wound, her body twisting unnaturally in the air as if something invisible were being torn out of her. Then a miracle. Every candle in the church lit at once. The broken stained glass glowed gold from within. The statue of Jesus seemed to shimmer with warmth. 2 more nuns appeared from a side door, calm and luminous, kneeling beside Dev and Arian to tend their wounds with extraordinary gentleness. The old priest walked slowly to Sister Agnes, opened a small vial of holy water, and poured it over her hands and face, speaking softly in Latin. Her white eyes faded to ordinary brown, human again for the first time in a century, full of grief and, finally, something like relief. Then she was gone, not dead but dissolved, a column of soft golden light rising toward the ceiling, drawn into the statue above the altar. The church fell silent and still. The priest placed a hand on Simran's head. Tonight, because you refused to leave your friend behind, a soul trapped here for 100 years has finally been set free. She was not evil. She was a victim who made one desperate choice long ago and paid for it every day since. Go home now. Tell no one what happened here. And do not come back. Scene 7, the morning after. They made it back to the bed and breakfast just before 3 in the morning. Dev and Arian, despite everything, fell into deep, dreamless sleep the moment they lay down, as if the night were being gently erased from their minds. Simran lay awake, replaying every second, the white eyes, the black tongue, the look on Sister Agnes's face in the final moment, exhaustion turning into peace. By morning, Dev and Arian were laughing over breakfast, planning the rest of the trip, remembering nothing past walking into the church. Later as the
directing her, making her do things she didn't want to do. She told me she had been going to someone for help and that the help was making it worse. Who was she going to for help? Another silence. Professor Marsh ran a prayer group for students in her department. Victoria was in it. She thought it was a Bible study group when she joined. He paused. It wasn't. Fearful face. That night Sierra told Kayla everything from the hospital bed. Kayla listened with her rosary bracelet between her fingers. When Sierra finished, Kayla said, She put it on me. The thing she was carrying. She moved it onto me so it would go after me instead of her. Yes, Sierra said. That's what I think. Victoria's spirit has been in that room for a year trying to get to her. And she redirected it. Yes. Kayla looked at the bracelet. What do we do? I talked to Reverend McAllister, the retired minister. He's been waiting 12 years for someone to take this seriously enough to let him do something about it. Sierra leaned forward. He says Victoria's spirit isn't trying to harm you. She was trying to warn you. She's been in that room looking for the person who did this to her. And she found someone else instead. Me. You. And she redirected her toward you to buy time. But what she really wants is Marsh, Kayla said. Skull. Reverend McAllister came to the campus that evening. He was 81 years old and moved slowly and had the look of a man who had spent 40 years taking things seriously that the institution around him had always preferred to dismiss. He sat in Kayla's hospital room and prayed. He prayed over Kayla and over the bracelet, and over the space between what had happened and what needed to happen to let a young woman's spirit stop being trapped. Victoria Harmon did not choose to die, he said. She was manipulated. She was used. And her spirit has been trying to tell that to someone who would listen for 12 months. He looked at Sierra. You listened. What happens now?
Bodied population of Harrow Falls converged on Blackwater Pond. They carried every torch, every lantern, every can of gasoline they could gather. They formed a wide ring around the entire water's edge, waiting in silence. At midnight, the water began to move. She rose, the same as always, white dress heavy with black water, red eyes scanning the dark. Then she saw them, all of them, the ring of fire waiting. I thought last night's fear would have sent you running for good, she said. Her voice was still steady, but something behind it was not. Every torch rose at once. Remove those flames, she hissed, or I will give every last one of you a death you cannot imagine. Walter stepped forward. He was the oldest man in the group, and his voice was steady as iron. Your time for threats is finished. For 100 years you've taken innocent people from this town. Tonight you answer for that. Foolish people, she said. You cannot hold me. Silas stepped forward then, and his voice was different, not angry, almost sorrowful. He began speaking the old words, the ones he'd spent 2 days finding in books older than anyone in the town. And as he spoke, he threw a jar of sanctified water directly at her. The effect was immediate. She staggered. Her form flickered. The red in her eyes pulsed and dimmed for just a moment. Now, close the circle. The ring of fire moved inward. From every direction, torches and lit lanterns were pushed toward her, driving her backward, away from the water, away from the pond's edge. She screamed, a sound that shook the cypress trees and sent bats scattering from their roosts a mile away. Today, Walter shouted, every person you've taken gets their answer. Henry moved then, straight toward her, without hesitation, and drove his burning torch forward. She screamed again, and this time her form began to change, not solidifying but loosening, unraveling, like smoke being pulled apart by the wind. I will come back, she shrieked. I will.
Security guard would spend a long time trying to describe to the responding officers. The air felt different, he said. Like a door had been opened somewhere, and a draft had moved through. Clean. Marsh was hospitalized. She spoke to investigators from a hospital bed 6 days later. The account she gave was incomplete but enough. The university launched a review. The campus ministry network opened its own inquiry. Things that had been buried came up. Victoria Harmon's death was reclassified as a death under suspicious circumstances pending further investigation. It was not enough. It would never be fully enough. But it was true, which was more than Victoria had gotten for the 12 months she had spent in room 713 trying to make someone understand. Kayla was discharged from the hospital on a Thursday. Sierra picked her up. They drove back to campus in the early afternoon. Kayla looked out the window at Boston going past, the red brick and the old trees and the October sky, and said nothing for a while. "Are you going back to 713? Sierra asked. "No," Kayla said. "The RA is finding me something else." "Me too." They stopped at a diner on Commonwealth Avenue and ate lunch and didn't talk about any of it for a full hour, which was the first hour either of them had spent not thinking about it in weeks. It felt like coming up for air. At some point, Kayla looked down at the rosary bracelet still on her wrist. The wooden beads warm from her skin. "You should have this back," she said. "Keep it," Sierra said. "My grandmother had about 40 of them. She won't miss one." Kayla smiled. Small. Real. Outside the window, Boston went about its ordinary Thursday afternoon, students and cars and the T running its route and everyone moving through the world with the urgent business of being alive. Room 713 in Harrington Hall was empty. The university sealed it pending the review. No one was assigned to it for the rest of the year. But on the nights when the wind came off the harbor and hit the old brick buildings at the right angle, students who walked past Harrington Hall sometimes felt something, a lightness that hadn't been there before, or something that felt like a breath, or something that felt like the specific quality of air in a room where a window has just been opened after a very long time closed. Most of them didn't notice it. Those who did kept walking. Which was exactly right. Dove. The end ghost.